Well, on par with propaganda, you mentioned the Nephilim or Rephaim, and it's actually the perfect example of how people were dehumanized by simply writing a derogatory story about them, which ties into the cyclical nature of the Bible, which perpetuates the cycles of violence that we see current day. And no, it's not because I believe the Bible is true. I saw somebody comment that I don't believe the Bible is true, but it affects me, it affects you, because the people who hold the power continuously try to put us in the systems of the Bible. And to clarify, when I say those who hold the power, I mean the rich oligarchic nationalist governments who are being controlled by businesses who are in the business of war machines and big oil and stealing all our resources. Let's get back to the negative PR campaign that Bible writers had against the people of Canaan. A quick breakdown. So in Genesis 6, sons of God, who are actually gods, it's plural, see the women are hot pieces of ass, want to come down and put that divine D inside that hot little V, and they produce babies who are giants. Eventually, through their storytelling, the Rephaim, Nephilim, Anakim, Zamzam, Zamim, all these different groups kind of just get conflated into an adversary that is so huge that the only way they would be able to defeat them is with the help of their God. So it's really cool storytelling when you think about it, but it does not make it true. According to other historical resources about the Rephaim, they were chosen men by El who had a specific duty. Likely it was some kind of kingship. They were a warrior, maybe a righteous judge, and they would perform certain cultic acts in honor of El, and when they died, they would go into Sheol and they would live there in the afterlife, waiting to welcome the next Rephaim who passed away into the afterworld. They would return from the afterlife in order to participate in certain ritualistic acts, maybe for fertility of the king, because you know your progeny is important. You got to keep your line ongoing, as well as if you stay alive, you also keep your God's name going. So it's kind of like this symbiotic relationship, even though, again, I don't believe it, but if you wipe out an entire people group, you can essentially wipe out their God, which is why I say I don't want these cycles to continue. I want to resurrect the gods, because when we do, we resurrect the people. I'm losing my train of thought. So the stories of these heroes isn't just centered in Canaan. They were probably in Egypt, and the idea, I believe, even came out of the Amorite Empire sometime around the 17th century with King Hammurabi. These houses, if you want to call them that, would have probably been represented symbolically by some kind of animal representation, which was really popular back then, like, you know, House of Bull or the bear or a ram. We see that symbology over and over inside of the Bible because it was important to people at that time, not just the Bible writers. So I think it's really interesting sometimes in the Bible when we read about certain animals, I wonder, is that actually like a slight against a certain group, but we wouldn't know it because we wouldn't know that colloquialism unless we lived back then. Just there's some things that have just simply been erased to time. Through the art of storytelling, Rephaim transformed from heroes to imposing giants, from legendary characters into historicized ideas of a people who inhabited Canaan indigenously, that were formidable giants who terrorized the land, savages who needed eradicated. Now, that is just a story, and we have to remember, to every story, there are three sides. And while this tells us these stories are true, whose truth?